few words about the Battle of Stalingrad. Everything in our city is connected with the battle, and it's no wonder because during the Battle of Stalingrad everything had been ruined in the city, and that's why there are no ancient places of interest here, but there are many places of interest dedicated to the Second World War, to the Battle of Stalingrad. Today we saw the memorial on the Mamai Field. Today we had a chance to see some other monuments. And there are monuments not only in Volgograd, but also in the Volgograd region. Today we are going to Rossoshka to see the monuments there. And I'd like to tell you a few words about the Battle of Stalingrad. In our country, everybody knows the Great Patriotic War, and not all people know when the Second World War began. Our young people were asked, when did the Great Patriotic War begin? And nearly everybody answered correctly, 1941. But when they were asked, and when did the Second World War begin, only 23% were able to answer that the Second World War began in 1939. So it's interesting because in Russia we know the Great Patriotic War, and in the West everybody knows the Second World War. And 2 years later, only in 1941, the Great Patriotic War began, and the first defeat of the Hitler's soldiers was at Moscow in December in 1941. Before that, everybody thought that nobody could defeat Hitler. It would be impossible to defeat him. So strong, so powerful his army was. And at Moscow, this illusion came to an end, and everybody understood that Hitler could be defeated, it was possible. And then spring of 1943 came, and Hitler decided to go to the Caucasus. It's very difficult to say for sure why did he decide to do so. Many historians in Russia, they say that was because of oil, because Caucasus meant oil, and oil was very useful because petrol was in great need for tanks, for everything. And maybe that's why Hitler decided to go to the Caucasus. But before going to the Caucasus, he decided to attack Stalingrad. He could not leave in the rear such a city that was Stalingrad in 1942. First of all, it was a large city with many industrial enterprises, and all the industrial enterprises produced something for the front. They produced weapons, they produced bombs, they produced everything for the front. And also it was important that many that it was the crossroads of railways, of 5 railways here. It was also important, and Hitler decided first we'll take Stalingrad, and then we'll go to the Caucasus. And the Battle of Stalingrad began on the 17th of July in 1942. And at first the fighting was at a distance of 150 kilometers. and Hitler thought that in a week they would be able to find themselves in the center of Stalingrad, but he was mistaken because weeks went by and they could not reach Stalingrad. But in the middle of August in 1942, after 1 month since the battle had begun, they came close to Stalingrad. They came close to Stalingrad, and then it was decided to bomb the city. It was saturating bombing. What does it mean, saturating? The fascist airplanes flew one by one, and all of them dropped bombs on the city. And there were fires everywhere. There was black smoke, and the people in the villages at a distance of 15 miles, they said, oh, even at a distance of 15 miles we could see the black smoke over Stalingrad, and the city was not evacuated. All the citizens were in Stalingrad. There was 500,000 of them in Stalingrad, and when the bombing began on the 23rd of August, poor people, they rushed towards the Volga. They knew there were barges, there were boats at the bank of the Volga, and the people thought that if they could have a place on the boat, they would be saved, because the barges will go to Astrakhan, and they will be saved. But it was a mistake. When the barges with women and children were in the middle of the Volga, the fascists dropped bombs, the pilots dropped bombs on the barges, and they sank one by one. And 43,000 people were killed, died on that day, on the 23rd of August. There were great losses. There were thousands and thousands of civilian casualties in Stalingrad. And after that, the street fights began in September in 1942. And again, the fascists thought that the city had been ruined, and it would be easier for them to capture the ruined city. But again, they were mistaken, because when they found themselves in this city, they found out that the soldiers, Soviet soldiers, were in the ruins, and they fired at them, and they were shooting, and so it was the great battle in the city, the so-called street fights. And I told you already today that the main task of Germans was to reach the Volga, to throw the Soviet soldiers into the river, and the main task of our soldiers was to withstand and to stop the fascists wherever they could do so. And they did it, because no matter how hard the fascists tried, they could not conquer Stalingrad. Hitler four times he proclaimed new dates for conquering the city, and again and again they could not do this. And